The living room was bathed in the soft, warm glow of the setting sun. Sarah and her father sat nestled in their favorite armchairs, a comfortable silence enveloping them. A fire crackled cheerfully in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls adorned with family photographs.
What?
The only sounds were the crackling fire, the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner, and the gentle clinking of teacups. It was a picture of domestic tranquility, a sanctuary from the hustle and bustle of the outside world.
Dad,
Sarah began, her voice soft, breaking the silence. Her father looked up from his book, his gaze filled with warmth and encouragement.
I was reading about personality types today. Have you heard of Sigma personalities?
I have.
He gently set his book aside on the coffee table, signaling his full attention.
It's just, I was reading about the traits and some of them resonated with me. I'm not sure I fully understand it all.
Well, why don't you tell me what you read, and we can explore it together?
He smiled reassuringly, recognizing the familiar yearning for knowledge and self-discovery in his daughter's eyes. This was a safe space for her to explore her thoughts and feelings.
They were talking about alphas, betas, and then sigmas. It sounded so different, so independent.
It is different, Sarah. You see, these labels, alpha, beta, sigma, they're attempts to categorize personalities, but humans are far too complex for rigid boxes. Think of it like a spectrum, Sarah. On one end, you have the alphas, often portrayed as natural leaders, assertive, outgoing. On the other end, you have the betas, often described as followers, more team-oriented. Now, sigmas, they don't quite fit either end. They're the lone wolves, the independent thinkers, the ones who forge their own paths.
Sarah listened intently, her initial confusion slowly giving way to intrigue.
Lone wolves. They don't need the pack?
Not in the conventional sense, no. Sigmas find validation from within, not from external sources like social hierarchy or group approval. They're comfortable in their own skin, content with their own company. They march to the beat of their own drum, you see?
Sarah nodded slowly, absorbing every word.
But remember, Sarah, these are just labels. They can be helpful tools for understanding, but they shouldn't define us. What truly matters is not whether you fit neatly into one category or another, but that you understand and embrace your own unique strengths and values.
His words resonated deep within Sarah, calming the storm of thoughts swirling in her mind.
So tell me more about these sigmas. What are they like? What makes them tick?
A smile played on her father's lips. I think, he said, his eyes twinkling, that's a conversation for another cup of tea.
Sarah felt a surge of gratitude. He always had a way of simplifying the complex, of making the world seem a little less daunting.
So how do you spot a sigma? What makes them different?
They don't exactly wear a badge, Sarah. But there are certain traits, certain ways of navigating the world that set them apart. Imagine a social gathering, a crowded room full of people. You'll find the alphas at the center, commanding attention, leading the conversations. The betas will be scattered around, comfortable in their groups, following the lead. The sigma, however, will likely be found on the periphery, observing quietly, engaging selectively. They're not drawn to the spotlight, you see. They're content to blend in, to observe and analyze from a distance.
Sarah's eyes shone with genuine interest.
But that doesn't mean they're invisible. They have a quiet confidence, a self-assuredness that comes from within. They don't need external validation to feel good about themselves. They're comfortable in their own skin, content with who they are, even if it means not fitting into the mold. They're the free spirits, the independent thinkers, the ones who pave their own paths.
Sarah listened intently, her mind racing to process this new understanding of Sigma personalities. It was like a whole new world was opening up to her.
They're often introspective. They enjoy their own company, find solace in solitude. They're the thinkers, the observers, the ones who find meaning in quiet contemplation. Don't mistake their silence for shyness or insecurity, though. They're simply comfortable with their thoughts, content with their own internal dialogue. They're not afraid to be alone with their thoughts, to explore the depths of their own minds. In fact, they often find it rejuvenating, a source of strength and clarity.
Sarah nodded slowly, her mind racing back to her own experiences.
They have a different kind of magnetism, you see. They're not loud or boisterous, but they have this quiet intensity, this aura of self-assurance that draws people in. They're authentic, genuine, and people are drawn to that. They see through pretense, through superficiality, and they value substance over style. They're the ones you can have deep, meaningful conversations with. They're insightful, perceptive, and they truly listen when you speak.
Sarah found herself nodding along, her initial curiosity blossoming into a sense of fascination. Sarah sat back, her mind buzzing with new insights.
It's strange, some of those traits. They resonate with me. I've always been more comfortable observing, thinking things through before jumping in. I guess I've never been one for the spotlight.
You've always had a way of seeing the world differently, Sarah. A quiet strength, a depth of thought that's rare.
But sometimes I feel like I don't quite fit in.
It's okay to be different, Sarah. In fact, it's what makes you, you.
His words, spoken with such love and acceptance, warmed her heart.
The world needs all kinds of people, all kinds of personalities. It's the differences that make life interesting, that challenge us to grow. But I understand. Navigating a social world that often seems geared towards extroverts can be challenging for someone who thrives on introspection. It's about finding your tribe, Sarah. People who appreciate you for who you are, who value your quiet strength and your unique perspective. They're out there. You just have to be patient. Be open to connecting with people who resonate with your soul.
Sarah felt a sense of relief wash over her. She knew her father was right.
But what about those times when I feel pressured to conform, to be more outgoing?
That's when you need to remember the value of authenticity, Sarah. Trying to be someone you're not is exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling. The world is full of people trying to be someone they're not. Don't let the pressure to conform dim your light. Embrace your individuality, your unique way of seeing the world. It's your greatest strength.
His words resonated deep within Sarah, striking a chord of truth within her heart. She knew he was right.
It's okay to march to the beat of your own drum, Sarah. It may not always be the easiest path, but it's the path that will lead you to your most authentic self. Remember, the most extraordinary people, the ones who truly make a difference in the world, are often the ones who dare to be different, to challenge the status quo.
His words were like a beacon of hope, guiding her towards a path less traveled, a path that celebrated individuality and authenticity. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling a sense of clarity wash over her. She didn't have to conform to be accepted, to be loved, to make a difference. It was time to embrace her Sigma traits, to walk her own path with confidence and grace. A comfortable silence settled between them, the crackling fire the only sound for a while.
You know, one of the greatest gifts of having a Sigma personality is the ability to see things from a different perspective. Because you're not caught up in the usual social dynamics, you can observe things more objectively, see solutions others might miss. It's like having a different lens on the world. You can see the forest for the trees, cut through the noise, and get to the heart of the matter.
Sarah felt a newfound appreciation for her unique perspective. He paused, taking a sip of his tea before continuing.
Now, this doesn't mean you have to walk through life alone. Even lone wolves need a pack, a place where they feel understood and accepted.
Addressing the unspoken concern he sensed in Sarah's silence.
The beauty is, your pack doesn't have to be conventional. It might be a small, close-knit group of friends who share your values, or a community of like-minded individuals you connect with online.
He reached out, placing a reassuring hand over Sarah's.
Don't be afraid to seek out those connections, Sarah. The world is full of people searching for their tribe, for a place where they can be their authentic selves.
His words sparked a flicker of hope in Sarah's chest. Maybe she wasn't so different after all. Maybe there were others out there who felt the same way, who craved authenticity and genuine connection.
And remember, leadership doesn't always mean being the loudest voice in the room.
He smiled, a mischievous glint in his eye.
Sigmas have a way of leading from the sidelines, inspiring others through their actions and integrity. Think about it. Who are the people you truly admire? The ones who inspire you to be a better person?
He paused, letting the question hang in the air.
They're not always the ones seeking recognition or validation. They're the quiet achievers, the ones who lead by example, who stay true to their values even when it's not the easy path.
His words struck a chord within Sarah. She thought of her favorite teacher, a quiet, unassuming woman whose passion for literature had ignited a similar spark in her own heart. She hadn't needed a title or a position of authority to lead. Her passion and integrity had spoken volumes.
The world needs more people like you, Sarah. People who aren't afraid to be themselves, who stand up for what they believe in, even when it's unpopular.
He squeezed her hand gently.
Never underestimate the power of authenticity. It's a rare and precious gift.
His words washed over Sarah, filling her with a newfound sense of purpose. It was okay to be different, to embrace her Sigma traits. In fact, it was her uniqueness, her ability to see the world through a different lens, that made her special. She looked at her father, his face etched with wisdom and love, and felt a surge of gratitude.
Thank you, Dad, for everything.
Her voice thick with emotion. A warm smile graced her father's lips as he squeezed her hand in return.
Anytime, Sarah. Never forget how special you are, just the way you are.
Sarah nodded, her heart full. The conversation had been a revelation, a journey of self-discovery that had left her feeling empowered and understood. She was a Sigma, and that was more than okay. It was a part of who she was, a unique blend of traits that allowed her to see the world through a different lens. She looked around the familiar room, the warm glow of the firelight casting long shadows on the walls adorned with family photos. It was a place of comfort, a sanctuary where she could always be herself. And as she looked at her father, his kind eyes crinkled at the corners with a mixture of love and pride. She knew she had his unwavering support, no matter what path she chose to take. The anxieties she had carried, the doubts about not fitting in, seemed to melt away, replaced by a newfound sense of self-acceptance. She didn't need to be the loudest voice in the room, didn't need to conform to societal expectations to find her place in the world. Her strength lay in her individuality, her quiet confidence, her ability to think independently and see things from a different perspective.
I think I'm going to make us some more tea. Earl Grey?
You know me too well.
She replied, her voice light with laughter. She watched him go, a wave of affection washing over her. Their conversations always had a way of grounding her, of reminding her of what truly mattered. It wasn't about labels or fitting in. It was about being true to herself, about finding her own path and cherishing the people who loved her unconditionally. As the aroma of bergamot filled the air, Sarah leaned back in her chair, a sense of contentment settling over her. The fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting a warm glow on the room, a silent testament to the warmth and love they shared. She was a Sigma, and she was proud. The world needed people who weren't afraid to be different, to think for themselves, to challenge the status quo. And she, with her quiet strength and unique perspective, was ready to embrace her role in it. The world awaited, full of possibilities, and she, with her father by her side, was ready to meet it head-on, her heart full of gratitude and her spirit ignited with a newfound confidence. The warmth of the fire, the gentle clinking of teacups, the shared laughter and understanding, these were the things that truly mattered, the threads that wove the tapestry of their lives together, creating a bond that was unbreakable, a love that was unwavering. And in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of home and the strength of their bond, Sarah knew she could face anything, her Sigma spirit shining bright.